Hi everyone. I'm going to send out a short little video on how to have a successful week number 7. It seems like as the course gets started at the beginning, it goes a little bit slowly, and then we get to week 7 and week 8, and it's almost over. So I've really appreciated all the work that you all have put in to this class. And am looking forward to what you come up with your group projects. So here's how to have a successful week number 7. You're reading Shalom in the Community of Creation. So you finish that, and there will be a discussion for that. Usually I release the group project instructions and information on Wednesday, but I'm releasing them this evening along with this video. So right after this video, when I post it, I'll release those, because there's a few people in different groups that may have to get started, and so they will have to contact the group and need to know the information about the group because they have some prior commitments in week number 8, so they want to get a little jump start on the group project. That doesn't mean everybody in your group has to participate this week. It just means maybe have a conversation that the people that need to do some work this week can get started on the work that they need to. So I'm going to release that information this evening, and so you'll have a week to kind of get organized. And for those people that need to do work in advance, they'll be able to do work in advance. So it's a pretty decently simple week in terms of just finish your readings. There was a lot of lectures last week, so processing those, and in relationship to now transitioning to Randy Woodley's book, Shalom in the Community of Creation. I really appreciated the conversation that's happening on racial conflict and healing from Andrew Sung Park's book. And I think some of the highlights from there is always people recognize the simplicity and depth of the Korean concept of Han. And that, I think, is really illuminating and enlightening, and gives some texture to, or some expression to, some folks' experience of being on the underside of power, and for generations in some cases. And then people like his vision for the future, and a few questions on, like his vision for bringing in and kind of critiquing individualism, and then a few questions on, has he overestimated the ability of family to heal Han, or is there sometimes when family generational sin contributes to Han, and what do we do with that? And then his vision for the Parousia and the second coming of Christ. It seems very premillennial. And so some people have questions about that, if it's an over-realized eschatology. So that's some important points in the conversation on the discussion this week. If I had time, I would have had you all read Exclusion and Embrace as well, but that would be an overload of reading for this course. But what Miroslav Volf talks about in that book, which some of you have read for other classes, is this 4 movements of identity to embrace. And I talked about this in the race conversation. But the important part for when we talk about coming together, and when we talk about moving towards one another, the important parts of that relate to Park's book is, Park talks a lot about the person on the underside or experiencing Han needs to make the first move towards forgiveness to make peace and reconciliation. And what Volf says is that's true, that people need to make a move who have been hurt towards forgiveness. And there's a really excellent podcast on that, which this week, in relationship to the one that I sent to you from For the Life of the World. So that short 7-minute one on Han, and the poem and the artistry that went along with that. The follow-up podcast in For the Life of the World is on forgiveness. And so Miroslav Volf talks about that. So you might want to check that out. And I may just include that in this video as I'm thinking about it and talking about it out loud. But he talks about that move that's for those who have experienced Han and been on the underside of some kind of oppression and injustice. But there's also a move for those who are not on the underside but have been in the kind of majority or the power conversation, is using your power to work towards justice. So there's a dual move, and Park doesn't talk a lot about that, the dual moves, but but it's an important aspect of both communities or both parties moving towards one another in justice on one hand and forgiveness on the other, as a way to make reconciliation and peace. So I love Park's book, especially the concept of Han just makes certain experiences pop, and give us language for that it takes, as you saw in his book, it takes a lot of English words to describe one Korean word and concept. So yeah, it's a really profound word, and has really changed my way of seeing as we kind of talk about these issues in our culture and in the church. So yeah, there's another video that's coming with some instructions about the group project, and then I'm making all those things available to you all tonight so you can organize and help get that going for this week, especially for those who need to get advanced work going. So yeah, sorry, this is a little bit longer than what I planned. But yeah, looking forward. I hope you have a great week number 7 and a good start to your group project.